A very snowy event from Spring, Texas here. If you live anywhere on the Gulf Coast, from Texas all the way over to Florida, right across there, then you either have experienced something which only happens once in a lifetime, or you are about to experience it, one or the other. Because when I wakened up this morning and looked out of the window, well, there was quite a lot of snow out there. So it was quite an event. Went outside. It was really cold. Took some pictures and came back in. Having said that, the snow it's still there. It's still on the roofs. It's gone from the roads. It's going from all the front and backyards. It's kind of disappearing, but in its place is going to be some really cold weather. So make sure that if you live in this part of the world that you are prepared for this really cold weather. In other words, leave your taps dripping tonight. It's a good idea. Keep the thermostats up a little bit. If you've got cupboards under sinks and there's pipes under there, then leave them open during the night. We're going to leave a little heater going in our master bedroom on fairly low, probably about 45 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. And yep. And we've been outside. We covered all the outside faucets there. They're all covered. So we've pretty well done everything we can do. Our attic is well insulated. So please take care. Please make sure that you're okay. Having said that, let's get on with our reading. Of course, Rev Kelly is our writer, and she's called today's reading Reverence for Life. Reverence for Life. First quote is from a fairly well-known American author called Gary Zukav. That's Zukav. And the book is The Seat of the Soul. It's a very well-known book, actually, The Seat of the Soul. Reverence for Life. He says, it is not natural for us to live without reverence, because that separates us from the basic energy of the soul. And if you want to know what Gary Zukav means by soul, then you can read the book. Ernest Holmes says, so humans must be created with the possibility of limitless freedom, and let alone to discover themselves. And that's from the Science of Mind textbook on page 109, which it's a tome, so that's fairly near the beginning of the book. Ernest Holmes, of course. And this is talking about human beings have freedom of choice, which, if you want to sum it up. And this is from our writer this month, who says, when I became a minister, I became Reverend Kelly. Hang on a second. It took a little while for me to become comfortable with the title, which means worthy of reverence or deserving to be revered. Aren't we all worthy of reverence? Reverence is showing profound honor and respect for something, or someone, I would say. What a beautiful way to go through life, showing deep reverence for beings and all the world. Not just gorgeous flowers or our precious children, but even the little things we struggle to find value in. I'm thinking about the bugs that sneak into the garage, or, he says, the angry wasps that build nests in my yard and then fight with me when I try to enjoy dinner outside. Don't do much of that, really. But sometimes, depending on what the food is, we have to fight with our cats to keep them at bay, especially fish. We have reverence for our families, the food on our table, and the machines that make our lifestyles possible. Well, maybe a few comments about that, but they're not negative comments. To have reverence is to have the consciousness that all life is valuable and essential. All is God, all is the divine, all is all there is. So all is worthy of reverence. Some of these words are mine. Living each moment of the day through the lens of reverence is a beautiful way to acknowledge the presence of the divine in everything and everyone. It is seeing and acknowledging the presence of God, the presence of the divine everywhere. Reverence is a core precept in Buddhist teachings. Teaching mindfulness and compassion allows us to experience peace and reverence for all of life. The first of 5 Buddhist precepts is to abstain from killing. Thich Nhat Hanh, a little bit about him in a second, taught this precept as reverence for life, that we all have a duty to appreciate and honor the beauty of life and the obligation to do everything in our power to protect all life. So what do I say about this? I think Nhat Hanh died a few years ago. He died in the 2020s. I think somewhere around either side of the beginning of the pandemic. I don't remember exactly when. And as I mentioned before, he's the person who at least introduced into the world or made popular in the world the concept of mindfulness. I don't think he invented it, but he's the one who popularized it. The idea of being mindful. In other words, doing what you're doing and being aware of what you're doing at the same time. So being aware of eating when you're eating. Excuse me, I don't know why I'm yawning. Shaving when you're shaving, which reminds me, yeah, I've took a day off, so I haven't had a shave yet today, so it looks kind of odd. But also, in line with Buddhist teaching, what the Dalai Lama says, which is compassion. When somebody asked him what his religion was, I've mentioned this a few times, he said compassion. In other words, compassion and respect for all of life. I'm not going to make any political statements, political comments, because that's not my job here. What I will say is this, that I think a lot of our politicians across the world, I am not going to single any nation or any politicians out, I think a lot of them have lost respect for life. And I think a lot of people in our world have lost respect for life. So what does that mean? It means that people like you and I, and I'm assuming that we all respect life, all kinds of life, are the ones who actually put this idea back into the group human subconscious so that it becomes more aware. As I said, we look after 4 outside cats. We feed them every morning. We've got these houses out there for them, and they slept in them last night. So they were sheltered from the cold. Hopefully tonight they go back in them again because it's going to be even colder tonight. So I really don't have an awful lot more to say. As far as the reverence and the reverend is concerned, at Creative Life, by and large, we don't address our ministers with the term reverend. Occasionally we will, sometimes jokingly, sometimes seriously. We actually have 4 ordained ministers at Creative Life Spiritual Center, but it's very rare that we address each other or have people in our congregations address us as reverend. We just kind of don't do that. Is that the way to go or not the way to go? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like this. Whether or not you agree with whoever is the current president of the United States, you respect the office, not necessarily the person. You may respect the person, you may not respect the person, but you respect the office. And it was the same at work. You may not respect the person, but you respect the office. And same with ministers, you respect the office. Because at least in our teaching, and the ones I'm familiar with, like Catholicism and Unity and some others, people go through a long course of study to become a minister. Yes, you can go on the internet and you can instantly almost become a minister, and you can conduct weddings, at least in the state of Texas. I don't know about the rest of the country. But in reality, the ministers that I know have all been through an extensive training. Years, not just like a year, 2 years, but years of training in order to become a minister. just like professors at universities have gone through a lot of courses of study to become a professor. So anyway, I'm rambling now. The bottom line is my message, just like Reverend Kelly's is, let's respect life and set a good example so that people will follow our example. She's given us a couple of affirmations. One is, I am a source of reverence for all life. I am a source of reverence for all life. I practice nonviolence within myself, which naturally extends to others. I practice nonviolence within myself, which naturally extends to others. And you can see that this is like the old adage, charity begins at home, love begins at home. This is home. Love begins here. Respect myself begins here. And when I respect myself, then I can respect others. The people who are not respecting other people, who are not loving other people, do not love and respect themselves. Because if they did, they wouldn't need to say anything bad about anybody else. And that's as far as I'm going to say with that. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Even though she's off, I'm sure Danielle Mercadal, or one of our practitioners, will be doing her meditation 11:15 tomorrow, and I'm going to keep plugging it. And Reverend Lisa will be back at 9:15 tomorrow morning. These are all Central Time. I'll be back around about 5 tomorrow evening. All Central Time, USA, Canada, I guess Mexico. Any part, parts of Mexico must be on the same time zone, and wherever else is on that time zone all the way down. I'm just knowing that all of us are going to be safe in the coming, say, 36 hours. I'm knowing that the world is becoming a safer place. And in knowing this, I'm putting this into the group human subconscious. And I ask you all to do the same. Put into the group human subconscious good stuff. And how do you do that? You just put it in here and you repeat it in here. That's why the affirmations are good. The affirmations are not just helping you, they're helping the whole human race. And when enough of us around the world put good stuff into the group human subconscious, there will be a change in the world, in the way that this world operates, at least on the human side of it. So that's my preachiness. Until next time, please take care. Namaste.